Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Solicitous. Thank you for tuning into my second video. Now first I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to all those who did subscribe and who hit that like button for my first video that I had put out. If you're watching this video, please hit subscribe before you forget or before you fall asleep like I do many of the times in the evening. And hit that like button. All right, moving on. A couple of things first. I want to let you know about a couple of channels that are out there that a couple of YouTubers. Well, one's a YouTuber, the other is a channel. Anyways, first, Tori Mago at Tori Mago 44. Tori Mago tells her story of how she escaped Scientology. It's currently, I believe she's up to 6 parts at this point. And she's in her 70s, and she's a pretty cool chick. She has quite the story to tell, let me tell you. Like, wow, you honestly can't make this stuff up. But it obviously shows nothing has changed, because what she's telling is similar to the stories being told still today. But you truly have to listen to this story. So it's not only about her escape from Scientology, it's also about what they had her doing while she was in Scientology. The scandalous stuff they had her doing, and it was kind of that started to make her clue in that something's not right here. Now, one thing I do find interesting, I'm not sure if you've been listening to what's going on with the Squirrel Squad, the protesters that are out protesting, but the story that she's telling of what they had her doing, which is based on the technology we had at that time, so I believe it was back in the late 90s, maybe into the early 2000s. But anyways, that's kind of when the internet and the whole chatting thing first took off, and what they had her doing with fake accounts and stuff like that. I find it kind of comparable to what's going on today with the fake calls with the Squirrel Squad and the SWAT stuff going on. And if you haven't been tuning into that, check out those channels. They're in my first video. Quite a few of them are listed. I don't have them all, because that community is growing so fast, as this protest grows so fast, as it should. So, thinking in the world back then when they had Tory doing this stuff, and now in today's world and the stuff that's going on with technology we have today, yeah, it kind of makes you wonder that Scientology probably is behind these fake calls for sure. Yeah, so at Tori Mago 44, and Tori is the shiznit, let me tell you, she truly is. I admire her. The second channel you've probably heard of, and it's has over 1 million subscribers, which is that's pretty wild. I had this is the first I've ever heard of this channel, only because they had a video out regarding another ex-scientologist, so I tuned into it. But it's quite interesting, this story that this gentleman tells. Now, this video was put out maybe a few days ago to a week ago. And he or she, you can't tell which it is, because they literally have this person hidden behind a mask, and it's kind of dramatic, it's kind of creepy, but they're definitely getting the point across and the point out there. the story out there. So listen to that and see, listen to this individual's story of what he or she had went through as well, while in Scientology. Now, of course, it's like I said, the stories are always so very similar. Different scenarios, different people, individuals, but the stories are always similar. So, oh, another thing I wanted to say about to me, I kind of feel like it's a male, but honestly, you can't tell because they disguise and do the voice up. But that's why I keep wanting to say he. But they kind of touch on the trafficking a little bit, where the the passports are being taken and locked away, which is a form of trafficking. It is something that goes on, not just in Scientology. I watched a documentary before where this was happening to people who have money, hiring people from other countries, and when they come here to work for these people, they do. That's been done to them as well. The passport's hidden. They're treated very nasty, underpaid, and they don't think they have anywhere to turn because they can't get out of there. They can't get their passport. Anyways, and some of those people have been charged for doing that, and it is a form of trafficking. So he touches on that a bit, he or she. Anyways, I encourage you to watch that at Vice. Alrighty, folks, let's chat. Well, let's touch on Mike Rinder. So I've been watching these channels for quite some time, and I'm pretty liberated. So I like to make my own informed decisions evidence-based. It's got to be evidence-based. I don't just take what someone says at face value. I have to figure that out for myself and come to my own decision, my own thoughts, my own final conclusion. So let's just touch on a little bit of who Mike Rinder was currently Mike Rinder is the head of the board of the Aftermath Foundation, and I spoke a little bit about that in my first video. I didn't go too far into it because I knew it would be a whole other hour. So I thought I will do a second video on that. I think I even mentioned that. Well, he used to be the most highest senior official for 25 years as an adult, who managed outside affairs, including government. He was the senior official for the handling of investigative operations of its members, and I mean its own members of the cult of Scientology, which calls themselves a church. So I'm not sure if you ever went to a church that has ever had someone in charge of investigating its own members. I sure haven't, but yeah, so it's a bit foolish. And he also was in charge of media relations and any legal concerns that the cult may be up against. All for the Church of Scientology for 25 years while he was an adult. He held these roles. Now, the reason this is important, the reason why it does matter, is because he was in charge of how things were done, how things were handled, managed within the cult, including very horrific, inappropriate, and disgusting crimes involving children, including a form of trafficking. Now, and actually, I apologize. I meant to say in the beginning of the video that this is based on my, I did say it's based on my informed decision, my thoughts, my opinion. But I'm going to direct you in the area of where I gained that knowledge. So, keeping in mind what I had just stated, I will now direct you to Mirriam Frances. And I spoke about Mirriam in my first video. So please check out Mirriam Frances's channel at The Dark Arts. Listen to her discuss what the story that she tells. It's her story, okay, about what happened to her as a child, okay, and how Mike Rinder played a hand in that. You can also check out Down the Rabbit Hole and Marilyn Honing, Cults, Coffee, and Crafts for more of Mirriam Frances's story, okay? So check those 3 channels out, and you will be informed as well as to what I'm speaking of. And you can make up your own mind, because we're all liberated. We can make up our own minds. We can make informed decisions. But now, Mike Rinder, out of the cult, continues the same behavior, cult-like behavior, and the same tactics, 22 years after being out of the cult. Still acting like he's in a cult. And I guess he just figures everybody else should act like they're still in a cult. But that's not how it is. Refusing the health, safety, and comfort to those requesting it from the foundation, and not just him. He's not the only one taking part in this. Like I said, listen to Mirriam's story. Listen to what she has to say on the channels I mentioned above. Also, go to Liz Ferris's channel. And if you just type these names in YouTube, you will find these folks. Their channels are quite popular. But go to Liz Ferris's channel, and I did mention her channel on the first video as well. And I told you a little bit of what's going on there with her. She's wanting to reunite with her father, okay, her elderly father who's stuck in this cult. But listen to her story as well, how she was treated when she requested help from the foundation that was set up to assist these folks coming out of the cult who need help. And I explained in my first video why they need help. You know, and it was Aaron and another gentleman who started this foundation for that purpose. Aaron Smith-Levin from Growing Up in Scientology. Now, here's the thing. It's the rest of the Aftermath Foundation as well. The rest of those board members. Not just Mike Rinder. Claire and Mark Headley as well. And the others. They're all participating in this behavior and in these cult-like tactics. To the victims of this cult, seeking help from the foundation that was started to help these folks. Watch the videos I mentioned above. Okay? And you make your mind up. You make your decision up. And I say informed decision because remember, this is a foundation collecting money from people all around the world. Okay? So it doesn't matter where you live. Everybody's giving to this foundation. And by the way, there's going to be a marathon as they did for Mirriam, for Liz Ferris coming up, to help raise some funds for her treatment that she's seeking as well. And I already donated. So again, you guys make an informed decision and decide if you want to donate. But just a heads up on that. Now, besides all that, they also attempted to unliberate. And I'm using the term unliberate, and I know we think liberation and whatnot, more to do with women. And however, remember, these guys were in a cult, so they were not liberated, not any of them, okay? They were stripped of all that, and they were born into this cult. They did not join this cult as an adult, and they didn't choose to stay in the cult as adults. Once they realized at the age of an adult that, hey, there's something wrong here, they get out of there. But while they were in there as children, and up until they left as adults, they were unliberated. They didn't know the outside world. So besides all that, they attempted to unliberate one of their own board members, one of the co-founders of this foundation, Aaron Smith-Levin, at Growing Up in Scientology. Using the old cult-like tactics and behavior. They did this by using anything they could to try to convince Aaron that he should feel shame to cut him down at any chance they had. Then after that, and this is what really makes me giggle, because I've worked for organizations that pull this crap. This crap doesn't just go on in Scientology. And I can always clearly see how this is going, and it makes me sick. Anyways, and then they said, well, you can step down and we'll just keep this all quiet, making him think that, not to embarrass him. When in fact, Aaron did absolutely nothing wrong, okay? Aaron's living in today's world, out of a cult, and as a liberated man, as he should. It's not 1950, and these folks are not in a cult anymore. And guess what? Aftermath board, you guys are not in a cult anymore either. Maybe somebody forgot to tell you guys that. Maybe you're waiting for Tom Cruise to tell you you're off board, you're not on board. And some of you might know what I'm talking about when I say that. But Tom Cruise will say you're either on board or you're off board with Scientology. Well, you guys are off board, so start acting like you're off board, please. Anyways, it's all tactics, it's all cult-like behavior that they're using, trying to shame Aaron for what in today's world is social and sexual roles. It's just how it is today. And out of a cult. So, anyways, it didn't work. Aaron stayed strong. He showed an enormous amount of restraint, and he truly, truly did. I wrote that on his page or in the comments. I can't remember, but he truly did. shown enormous amount of restraint when they were doing what they were doing. Kudos to him. And he stayed liberated, as he should. Because he's not in a cult anymore, and it's not 1950. Most importantly, he remained liberated. Not allowing the cult-like tactics and behaviors to cut him down. So go to Aaron's channel, Growing Up in Scientology. Go back to December, I'm pretty sure it was December around there of 2024. And check out his videos. They'll be titled Aftermath. You'll see Aftermath in the title and whatnot. And Aftermath Foundation. Also watch Rabbit's channel around that same time. And educate yourself. And watch those videos. Educate yourself on what happened there. Okay, so again, it's Aaron's story. He tells it quite well. He's very honest. He's very upfront, very transparent, as all these folks are. Now, in my opinion, well, this is all my opinion, but in my opinion, Mike Rinder inserted himself amongst the real true victims of this cult, the cult of Scientology. And as he, to me, it first started with the Aftermath show, where he cried a lot. I had to watch some clips the other night to remind myself, because like I said in my first video, I can't remember a lot of that show just because the way my memory is now. But he always gave me that icky feeling. I tried to watch him and Claire and Mark on YouTube, and I found all three of them very off-putting. It was very clear to me they were not people that I would ever want to sit and have a cup of tea with, and I'm sure they wouldn't with me either, but you know what I'm saying. And when I went back and watched some clips from the Aftermath Foundation, then I remember, right, yes, I remember this, yes, and the crying. And I can remember saying to my husband, why is he in amongst these victims of this cult? There was just something not right. There was something off about it. It just seemed strange to me. To me, it seemed like they were the victims and he was one of the perpetrators. And I couldn't understand it. Why? I was confused about that. Why is he in amongst these people and the constant crying? And it just seemed like a sympathy seekers. Yes, sympathy seeker. And which people who have great guilt over things tend to do. They tend to be a sympathy seeker. It's all diversion tactics. The same as Aaron. Aaron's a diversion tactic. They'll blame him for everything. So, as far as I am concerned, and in my opinion, he just inserted himself amongst these real, true victims, and now continues where he hides behind the Aftermath Foundation and continues to proclaim, I'm a victim. Well, I'm sorry, but in my eyes, you're not a victim. I'm sorry. You've lost your stature as a victim because your bad has far outweighed your good. Honestly, it truly has. While you were in the cult and after you've left the cult, and what you display, it most recently, currently. Now, like I said, they'll blame Aaron for everything because Aaron is it's a diversion tactic, and again, it's tactics of a cult. It's not just a cult. Like I said, I've worked for organizations where I've seen this stuff going on, and you can clearly see through it. I certainly can. But Mirriam spoke her truth, spoke up. Well, that's Aaron's fault. Now that does not make sense. Now come on, make it make sense. That doesn't make sense. Someone else speaking their truth this day and age. She's a liberated woman. She's a liberated ex-cult member. She can speak her truth. That's not Aaron's fault or anyone else's fault. So just, be accountable. Act like an adult. Liz Ferris speaks out and speaks her truth, how she was treated by the Aftermath Foundation. Sorry guys, that went down the wrong way. And it hurt my chest. Liz Ferris speaks out about how she was treated. And, well, that's Aaron's fault as well. Everything is Aaron's fault. Well, talk about your diversion tactic. Like, ooh, very evident. This video will be Aaron's fault. I don't know Aaron. I've never met Aaron. I've never spoke to Aaron. I've watched all these channels, and I've made an informed decision on how I feel. Because I'm allowed to do that, okay? And I don't need anybody putting a bug in my ear. I'm not sheeple. I am so far from being sheeple. Nobody tells me what to think or pushes me in a certain direction. As my husband says, you're so evidence-based. Everything has to be evidence-based. Well, yes, it does. It truly does. And if you're ever thinking on swaying me a certain way, then show me lots of evidence. So for me, watching these videos and watching these folks and reading the things that are posted, and I can read what they're saying, I can hear what they're saying in the videos, and then I can make my own decision, an informed decision. And again, I say informed decision because remember, this is a foundation that's collecting money and then turning around and denying those who are requesting help. They're denying it. So just keep that in mind, okay? Now, to me, it wasn't very hard to figure out. Like I said, I've worked for many organizations who've used these not many. I've worked for a couple of organizations who've used these tactics, and I'm used to it, so I could very clearly see what was taking place. Again, this is not something Scientology made up. This is stuff that actually goes on, that was put into Scientology as a tactic. Yeah, so like I said, people like this, they're looking for a scapegoat. They will use an individual as a diversion tactic. And there's other stuff they'll do as a diversion tactic. But at the end of the day, you have to make up your own mind by doing your homework, do your research, and make an informed decision, make an informed choice on how you feel. Not because anybody told you to, because Aaron's not out there gathering up an army to say these things. People have their own minds, believe it or not. It's not a cult out here. Aftermath Foundation, you're not in a cult anymore. Remember that. You're off board now. Yeah. So at this point, it's like I said, the Mike Rinder's bad. Uh, it just becomes so hard. It becomes so hard to separate all the bad, all the bad from the good. That it's very blurred now. It's extremely blurred. And yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Listen, folks, if you support my videos and you're solicitous about these topics, hit the like, hit the subscribe, okay? Don't forget. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you support the fight and the protest against the Church of Scientology, the cult of Scientology, go to those channels. Go to those channels and watch their videos. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I've given you all the information. Join the protest and make sure you educate people on this, because, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day and I brought up Scientology, as I always do, as I try to protest against it. And she was like, Scientology, what's that? And kind of, you know, not, it's kind of scary because there are people that have not heard of it. And I mean, you get people going around trying to solicit people like that have no idea. They don't know about front groups. They just don't have an understanding of what's out there and what this cult can do. So yes, thanks again, guys. Thanks for tuning in. My next video is going to be on the protesting, the protesters, what's going on with the protesters that are out there protesting against Scientology, and in general protesting. As many of you know, if you're from Canada or if you're from elsewhere, you may have heard about the protest in Canada with the truckers and things that had went on there. So we're going to talk about how protesters are being treated in today's world compared to back in the day. Okay? Positive vibes out to everyone. Please be kind to one another. Take care, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks, everyone. Bye.